Hey, I'm Miss Shaz Jones, and I'm answering some questions that my friends asked me when I stayed with them a couple of weekends ago because I thought, hey, this might be able to help other people as well. It's particularly around investing. Now, I am not a financial planner, I'm not a licensed advisor, so I'm not going to give you specific advice for you. I'm obviously not familiar with who is watching this, when they're watching it, what their personal circumstances are. So do go and get your own advice from your accountant or financial planner, whoever your advisors are. Just as general education, though, as general principles, here's some things that might help you. So the first question they asked was they had seen ads for invest $500 on the stock exchange, and they said, is that a scam? So the answer is maybe, maybe not. So the reason why they say $500 is because the Australian Stock Exchange has a minimum of $500 to buy shares for the first time. So if you're buying Woolworths shares for the first time, then you have to buy at least $500 worth, and then there's some fees on top of that potentially. So make sure that you have at least $500, and then you can go and buy some shares. Then they ask, well, how do I do that? What's the best? Do I need to know a broker or? And the answer is no, you don't need to know anyone. You can usually get an app from your bank. So if you bank with Commonwealth Bank, then get the CommBank app. If you bank with NAB, get the NAB Trade app. Get someone that you trust, their app basically. There are literally hundreds and thousands of apps that will help you, and there's always new startups, particularly American startups, that are advertising. But for your first time, go with someone you trust, like your local bank. Then they asked me, well, we've got our money, we've got our app, but what do we buy? So again, I'm not going to tell you what actual shares to buy because I'm not licensed to do that. What I can tell you though is this principle that will help you decide for yourself. So the principle is ownership. And that's basically what all wealth is based on, ownership. So when you are not being an owner, when you are being a spender or a consumer and you go and you pay money for something, think to yourself, is there a way that I can turn this expense into an asset? I can turn this spending money into making money, because that's the transaction side you want to be on, right? So for example, if you want to eat at McDonald's, you could go and buy a share in the McDonald's company, and then you will own part of the profits of McDonald's. So every time McDonald's makes a profit, you'll make a profit too. When the share price of McDonald's increases, that will increase your wealth as well. If you get your petrol at BP, go and buy a share in BP. If you always do your shopping at Woolworths, and go and buy a share in Woolworths. If you like buying iPhones and MacBooks, go and buy a share in Apple. If you like Nikes, whatever it is, look for, can I buy a share in that company? And you might find, what I found was, I ended up spending less with the company on their expenses and started buying up more of the company. So I could benefit from other people like me who were buying. You don't have to do any really crazy analysis and do charts and learn the skills of reading a balance sheet and valuing a company, and all of that can come later. To start off, just think, well, what am I spending my money on? Is there a way that I can get some of that money back? The next thing that we talked about was the principle of getting your money all the way in and all the way out. So when I first started investing in cryptocurrency, I didn't really know anything about it. I decided I would put in $100 and buy some Bitcoin. So I did that, and then having got all my money all the way in, invested in the Bitcoin, I tried to get it all the way out, and then I discovered I couldn't get my money back. So on that platform at that time in Australia, you couldn't sell any Bitcoin, you could only buy. And the platforms would take as much money as you wanted to give them to buy, but you couldn't get any of that money back when you wanted to sell because you couldn't sell. So then I found out about another platform where you could transfer from the platform I was on to them. And then you could get your money back in the form of Amazon gift cards. So anything that you could buy on Amazon, like books or anything else on Amazon, then you could, spend in that way if you wanted to sell your Bitcoin. But then I found out another platform where you could actually get your cash back into your Australian bank account when you wanted to sell your Bitcoin. So obviously, if the transaction value is really high, like if you're buying a house and you have to pay stamp duty and real estate fees and conveyancing fees and all of that, you don't want to be just testing if you can put your money and get your money back out really quick, because it's just going to cost you a lot in those fees. But for smaller transactions, like if you're buying a share for the first time on the first platform, or if you're doing anything with cryptocurrency or anything that's a bit risky, and obviously everything is more risky the first time you do it just because of your education, you don't know enough. So I would encourage you to try and get all your money all the way in and get it all the way back. What that would look like is buying a share of Woolworths on the CommBank app, or $500 worth of shares on the CommBank app, and then selling those shares and getting your $500 or whatever it's worth now back. Just so that you know, if I have to sell these shares or if I want to sell these shares, this is a legitimate financial platform and I can do that and get my money when I want it. So I hope those few questions that my friends asked me helped you if you're looking at investing. And if it is, give us a like or subscribe, put a comment down below. I would love to connect with you and find out what other questions you might like me to answer. Thanks for listening. See ya.